I suppose this flight from Miami to New York maybe gives us an indication of passengers and if they were fearful of flying in this aircraft.
Good morning, Rich. If American Air is to believe, it doesn't look like customers were fearful of getting on the MAX again. So there's no signs that passengers are trying to avoid the aircraft. And the airline says booking on the MAX are comparable to other aircraft at the moment. Having said that, they haven't nodded to, passenger fear or reticence, at least, on reboarding this aircraft, because they've given a huge amount of flexibility when it comes to rebooking for passengers who may be afraid of getting on this plane, realizing they're on the MAX. If they want to change to another flight, another aircraft, they can do that free of charge. And there's also transparency. When you buy a flight with American, that it'll be clear it's on a MAX. So they're obviously aware that some people may not want to fly on this plane given its record, and they're going the extra mile just to offer the passengers that extra bit of flexibility. And they're also suggesting that Southwest, which is Max's largest customer, and United will follow suit in that flexibility.
A very important step you would expect here for Boeing, Angus.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, MAX is its best-selling aircraft ever. And, it's got a backlog of more than 3,000 orders for this plane, and it hasn't been able to deliver this for 20 months. And, typically manufacturers get the bulk of the payment when they deliver the plane to the airline. So it can start doing that now, but it's not the same market, is it now? When the MAX was grounded and it suffered those two tragic crashes, the aviation market was still growing. And now it's been decimated, and by and large, airlines are not in the financial position, nor is demand to really facilitate huge big aircraft orders. So, with the odd exception, Alaska Air and Ryanair, which have actually increased their MAX orders, most airlines aren't, making huge big fleet purchases because globally, passenger traffic isn't really expected to recover to pre-COVID levels until 2024. So, yes, it's an important step for Boeing, and they can start repairing their balance sheet after, billions of costs they've racked up during the grounding. But it's a tough market to crack, even for their best-selling aircraft.
Right. Well, the MAX may be in the US, but it's certainly not the case for regulators in other jurisdictions following the FAA's lead, right?
That's right. We've seen a few regulators sign off on this aircraft and sign off on the software fixes that Boeing has installed on it, if you like. Brazil has approved the aircraft. European regulators have given a tentative approval, and they expect full approval for the aircraft sometime in 2021. But there's a key bunch of jurisdictions which haven't yet signed off on this aircraft, and I guess this is changing the guard, if you like, in terms of civil aviation regulators, because back in the day, what the FAA did, the rest of the world followed, but that's not the case anymore. And civil aviation regulators worldwide are really making their own assessment of whether this aircraft is safe to fly or not. And probably the key one, in Asia at least, is China. The world's biggest aviation market now in the current crisis. Traffic is almost back to pre-COVID levels there. And they were the first country to ground the aircraft, and they still haven't given the green light to this aircraft. So it'd be critical to see what China does in that light.